The chairman had requested, the background of why we are here is a case that was filed with the South Carolina Supreme Court in Edison. It was filed September 11th, 2024. It was a constitutional facial challenge to the Education Scholarship Trust Fund based on Article 11, Section 4 of the Constitution, which states no money shall be paid from public funds, nor shall the credit of the state or any of its political subdivisions be used for the direct benefit of any religious or other private education institution. The current in code now, ESTF sets up a trust fund within the department that must be a separate account from its general operating account. This account is funded through general appropriations and directs the treasurer to transfer appropriated funds to the trust account. The department then disperses the funds to a qualifying student's individual account for qualified expenses. The ESTF cannot be used to fund anything other than qualifying expenses and cannot be appropriated by the General Assembly for anything not specified in the Act. All unspent monies go back into the trust fund. The majority opinion concluded that this was not a true trust fund, and therefore it maintained its public fund nature and struck portions of the Act that would have benefited independent schools. The majority cited the Adams opinion and what it determined to be similarities in how the funds flowed, concluding that this trust fund did not change the nature of the appropriated funds and they were still considered public funds, further referencing the definition of public funds as monies raised by the operation of law for the support of the government or for the discharge of its obligations. The majority opinion went further to distinguish the ESTF from the Durham opinion, which involved a college tuition loan program created back 433 of 1971. This program provided loans to South Carolina residents to attend any institution of higher learning in state or out of state. It further authorized the issuance of revenue bonds, which were to be repaid by the students. Any funds received were then designated trust funds to be held for the purposes of the Act. They went on to emphasize that they upheld that program, indicating that the funds did not originate from the state treasury, and no public money was therefore at risk. The second question determined by the court was public funds used for the direct benefit of private schools. Once again, the court determined that the ESTF was more like the funds in Adams that were directed through an online portal, transferred from the state treasury to the selected school, and previously held unconstitutional by the court. The majority court addresses the concern of the minority that the majority opinion puts other scholarship programs in South Carolina in jeopardy. The minority opinion specifically listed the lottery scholarships. By saying, the majority says, our other scholarship programs do not employ the same structure as this particular act. The minority opinion clearly made a distinction between the Adams opinion and the ESTF and indicated that the General Assembly had followed the path set out in the Adams court in carefully crafting the ESTF, only to have the majority, quote, pull the rug out from under its feet. The K-12 education lottery scholarship bill before you simply goes into the current code on ESTF and modifies the current act to address the court's concerns. It resets eligible student to conform to current academic years, and it extends the current poverty level eligibility in the third year to 600% of federal poverty guidelines. It removes all other eligibility criteria except for the residency requirement. It expands the list of eligible expenses to include the cost of uniforms and inter-district transfer fees. In the current ESTF, we have set a specific application window. However, with the department's input, we have made changes so that it is more of a rolling application approach. However, the prior students that are in the program would have some type of priority in the new program as well. Currently, the ESTF is funded through the general appropriations process, which then directs the treasurer to transfer the funds from the general fund to the Department of Education trust fund account. We have reset this process in an effort to remove the constitutional issue and define a new source of funding. We have directed that the funds be appropriated similar to our other scholarship programs. The General Assembly will make certain appropriations to the K through 12 Education Lottery Scholarship. The Treasurer will then direct funds from the South Carolina Education Lottery account, which is separate from the general fund, to the scholarship fund in the Department of Education. This will not be at the cost of any existing programs currently funded by the lottery account. There are a number of programs currently funded through the lottery for the benefit of public education solely, which can be funded through the General Appropriations Bill directly without causing the constitutional problems of benefiting independent institutions. Currently, the ESTF is funded at a specific amount of $6,000 per eligible student. There was really no rhyme or reason. That was just a number that was chosen by the General Assembly in passing the ESTF prior. We have reset this amount to an amount equal to the average per pupil funding from state sources for the prior academic year as provided by Revenue and Fiscal Affairs. So there will be a definitive number each year that will be in conjunction with what is being spent on per pupil across the state. With the department's input, we have realigned the wording of some of the testing required in the current ESTF. Currently, the ESTF does not address inter-district transfers. We have added a new sentence to require the department to create a model inter-district policy within 120 days of creation of the model. All school districts must enact an inter-district policy consistent with the model policy. This was a specific issue that the majority court had also pointed to, that we lacked that in South Carolina, a statewide inter-district policy. So we are trying to also correct that issue.